Welcome to the X podcast with Brenda Rigney, your host. I'm also the host of the Aligned AF community for midlife women business owners that are launching and scaling their business. And I'm excited because this is actually my first podcast that I'm recording since being away for the last 2 months, spending the summer with my family in Europe. And although I was still running my business and I was engaging with members inside the Aligned AF community and online, it looked like I was really engaged in things in my business. I was literally living in Europe for 2 months. We decided to go to France for the beginning part, and we spent 4 weeks there in France and then 4 weeks in Spain. And then we finished off with a few days in London just before we flew home. And it was a great time because number one, it sort of tested the whole digital nomad vision that I have for my life and my business without going fully into it. It gave, I think, my partner Scott an opportunity to take a leave of absence and really think about, okay, what could he potentially do when he's thinking about retirement? And then for our family, it was just a great way to kind of connect. If that's something that's a possibility for you, I highly recommend it. It was amazing, but it did take some planning, and I might do a podcast just about that. I'm still distilling sort of all my thoughts, like the highs and lows. And there were a few lows of the trip and living overseas and kind of managing your business in North America while you're in Europe, and kind of all your systems and people support systems, et cetera, are based here. But that was all part of the exercise. Anyhow, I digress because the focus of my talk today on the podcast is not about becoming a digital nomad. It's about lead generation. And I can't help but not talk about this topic as we think about sort of the last 4 months of the year. And I saw a post the other day that as of September 22nd, it will be 100 days before the end of 2025. So if there's things on your to-do list or in your strategy plan that haven't happened in 2025, now's your chance. You've got 100 days to kind of pull this together. And that's why I also thought it was really important to do this podcast, because this will come out before the 100 days. So it even gives you kind of a week, 2 weeks before that 100 days kicks in to start putting a plan together. And so here goes. Lead generation. And the context for this is this past Friday, I got a chance to talk to 5 new members inside the Aligned AF community that have just recently joined in literally the last week to the last 2 days. Even one that joined the day before. And I just said, awesome, you joined. Let's connect tomorrow. I've got some time. And I gave them all anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes. Some of them we went on for chats for 30 minutes. But it was a great way for me to, number one, learn about their business. Number two, understand what the roadmap ahead of them is in the next 3 to 6 months in their business. And then how can the Aligned AF community support them with this roadmap? So there was a common theme that was coming through all the conversations, which was whether or not they were new to business, had been in their business for a while, had multiple streams of revenue in their business. They all had different, backgrounds. And some of them had more of a corporate background. Some of them had been in business for a while, but maybe had pivoted. Once I sort of listened to all their stories, and I kind of walked away and went on a dog walk yesterday afternoon, the biggest theme that kept coming up when I was talking about it with Scott, my partner, is lead generation. And that they want more leads. They want leads to come in more easily, that they don't necessarily want to be the sole source of how to get those leads. And I'll explain that. So one of the things that I learned from all of them is that they kind of rely on one source of lead generation. For most of them, it was their network or referrals from their network. And I think that that's great. Overall, my network, I'd say, is really strong. And it really helped me out in the first couple of years of my business. I literally went from zero as an entrepreneur to a $250,000 revenue grossing business in the span of 6 to 12 months with no website, no business cards, just my LinkedIn profile, and me going out there and saying, hey, open for business, kind of hanging my shingle on LinkedIn. And I had colleagues, friends, family members just refer me out to people. And it was great. The pandemic hit. And so then no one was referring anybody, because I think everyone had this perception that no one was doing business. It was a pandemic. Business was unusual. And especially because of most of my network was in the retail, hospitality, healthcare space. They were hit very hard during COVID. And so no one was really looking for coaches, consultants, or that was the perception that I had. And so that was an opportunity for me to pivot. And I didn't necessarily rely on my network to do that next pivot change. What I ended up doing was learning about list building and how to build an email list that you can continue to nurture and then convert more sales from. and also how to do sales online without having to get on sales calls or to be that direct link to those potential clients. I could actually have sales coming in overnight or boarding an airplane or driving between Madrid and Seville and being okay with that I didn't actually have to connect personally with that client to create a transaction, to create a sale for my business. And when I think about my vision and how I've created my vision for my life and my business, it's not about hustling. It's not about convincing people. It's really creating this ease flow that I can be in my business, whether it's for 15 minutes today or 5 hours tomorrow, and that it never feels like a grind. And I'm doing it because I love doing it, because I love supporting my clients. I love creating things for my clients, and I get to do it at my own pace with my expertise. I don't feel like, oh, I have to go out and get 5 new certifications in order to be seen as an expert in my field. Like, this is Brenda, this is who I am. Not kind of take it or leave it, but this is where I'm at right now. And I don't have to worry about trying to convince all these people over here. There's these people over here that are just ready for whatever I have to offer them. So knowing that, I think one of the things that was exciting for me was having conversations with these 5 women, but also just conversations that I have every single week inside the Aligned AF community about having 3 primary ways that you can generate leads. Now, if you have like 20 ways, that's great, but I would also say that might lead to burnout. And if you are in the 100,000, trying to get to 100,000, trying to get to 200,000, trying to get to 300,000, I would say having 20 ways to generate leads, you're number one, not going to do all of those really well. And number two, you are going to burn yourself out because some of those things will require technology, logistics, all those things. And you may need to hire some people to help you out with that. And you also may not be at the revenue level where you are going to be able to make those investments in those people continuously. And you may stop, start. Like, I often hear entrepreneurs where it's like, I had a VA and then I let them go because I didn't have the business. And I'm like, okay, but you've got all these things in play and you kind of need the VA to get it done. And now you're burning out because you don't have the revenue. So it's kind of a chicken egg thing, horse cart thing where, which comes first, the VA or the business? And you kind of need both in order to grow in some cases. Or the technology platform, right? To help automate some systems. One of the things that I heard loud and clear is in order for me to get clients, I have to rely on my network is to go to networking events, show up on Zoom calls, like whether it's virtual or in-person networking events. And that takes time and I love doing it. And sometimes I can't do it. And that was something that was repeated. And the reasons why maybe they have blocks and not being able to do those things all the time are not just because of a mindset thing. It's just like there's literally physical calendar things that get in the way that prevents them from going to those in-person or virtual events. For example, kids home for the summer, an aging family member needing care. And it typically falls, no offense to the guys out there, but it typically falls a lot on the daughter or the daughter-in-law. And I know this for a fact because I worked in senior home care. And most of the people that called into the call center were the sister, the daughter, the spouse, the wife that, were caring for aging family members. As women, we often put our own goals, our own needs on the shelf to care for other people. And I'm not saying don't do that, but here's the thing that happens with your business and with your lead generation is every time you put those things on the shelf to help somebody else out over here, which I commend you for, and hey, we need that nurturing in the planet. So I don't want women to stop doing that because we need that. But at the same time, you're burning out. And you're also, straddling all those things in your business, straddling these things with your relationships that are important to you in your life. And then you've also got your health over here. And let's face it, it really hit me like a ton of bricks when I was 48 and I was launching my business. And I didn't even know anything about perimenopause. My doctors, women that were like mentors in my life never said to me, hey, it's great that you're starting your business, but just so you know, you're 48 and something called perimenopause is going to hit you and it's going to, manifest in different symptoms. But you should really design a business that allows for these hormonal changes and influxes that are going to happen for you over the next 5 to 8 years. It affects women differently. I think those are just realities of our business. I don't want to create businesses for myself or offers for my clients that I can't deliver on because that's part of my integrity. That's a core value of mine. I also see a lot of clients and members inside my community that are conflicted, where they're like, Brenda, I want to do these things, but I just know I can't because dad's not well or son is going to need me, and I keep getting pulled into these things. And so that's where it's awesome that you have a network. It's awesome that you have referrals, but unless you are physically showing up to those things and nurturing that network and those referrals, sometimes they dry up, sometimes they forget. Like I've had people refer me out to clients for work that like I don't do. They kind of forget like what you're up to, and no offense to networks, like it's kind of your responsibility to nurture them and keep them updated. It's not their responsibility to remember all the things that you do and how you support people in your business. So that takes time, that takes effort. That is one stream of lead generation, which is amazing. But I think if you're only relying on that, because it requires so much physical presence, if you can't give that because of some of the things that we just talked about that may affect your time, now what do you do? Now you have no lead gen coming through. Now you are hooped because you kind of have to go back to the existing clients that you have, which is fine. I'm always a big believer that you can, exponentially grow your business with the people that you've recently served. You got to go to your network and tap on the door again, or you have a lead generation strategy. And some of those components of your lead generation strategy are automated and they are running 24/7 so that you can go to sleep, you can go on vacation, you can attend to your child's like school needs or whatever those things may happen, aging parent responsibilities, going out on a date night and feeling like comfortable that you can do those things in your life. Creating the automation with your lead generation strategies so that when life, and it will, throw you a curveball, that you don't have to put your business on hold or shut down things. I'm not saying you need to work 24/7. I'm talking about your business works 24/7. Because I see this all the time on social media that you should be allowed to take a break from your business. Absolutely, take a break from your business. But I want to know that you still have leads coming through so that when you come back to it, either there's, a pool of applications ready for your next mastermind cohort, or you've got people purchasing digital products from you or joining your community, and there's an automated onboarding service in there that's getting those people situated so that they feel engaged the first like 1 or 2 weeks of joining your community while you are out dealing with your life or having fun at the beach. What are my solutions? I think, to sort of look at this, like, how do you still remain visible? How do you still remain engaged in your lead generation process in your business without having to always count on being at every single networking event and getting business cards? Let's talk about my 4 approaches to visibility that are important when you think about your lead generation process. So the first one is short form content. Absolutely, you need to be on one social media platform. Now, a lot of people have LinkedIn because they have it from their professional days of when they were, say, in corporate and someone told them that they needed to have a LinkedIn account, which is great, but that doesn't count if you're not using it. And then some people have Instagram, but they're just posting their kids' photographs to that. So again, that doesn't count unless you're using it for your business. So you don't need to be on 20 accounts, but you do need to have at least one form of short form organic content on a social media platform that I would say is happening 2 to 3 days a week. And you can always ramp that up. And I would encourage you to ramp it up as you get better practice with it. But even starting off with 2 to 3 days a week is at least something. And that consistency, because again, people get skewed with consistency thinking that you need to be there 24/7. No, it's like if I'm going to show up 2 to 3 days a week on Instagram, that means next week I will do the same thing. And the week after I will do the same thing. And so having something consistent there. And we can talk about like, well, what type of content? Because here's the thing, to be consistent, it means that you're sharing content. Now, I constantly repurpose content. I am taking high performing posts, things that people like, things that people shared, things that people commented on, where I know I'm getting engagement and high response rates from my followers, not bots, but my followers. And I am repurposing it 30, 60 days from when I originally posted it. There are some posts that literally I just repost every 30 days. I just take it, post it, and then that same day that I post it, I put it into the Instagram scheduling app. I don't even use an external software. And I just post it again 30 days from now. Because I know it does well, because it always does well. So why not just keep posting it? And then I just get known for it because people will be like, oh, yeah, you always talk about this. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't talk about it 20 different ways. I talk about it the same way and I just repost the post. Little tricks like this, you learn along the way and then you share it, you pay it forward because social media is exhausting, but I think it's important that you're there. And I'll get back to why it is in a second. So number one, short form content, you need to be on at least one platform. If you want to be on like all of them, that's great. Then you got to figure out a content flywheel process. And I talk about this inside the Aligned AF community where you can, create one piece of content and splinter it out into different areas. But just start with one for now. Second thing that you need to do is have one piece of long form content. Do you need to do Instagram Reels, TikTok, and LinkedIn? No. But you need to do one piece of short form content and one piece of long form content. So long form is your YouTube channel, a blog, maybe on Substack, because it's super cool and you can also monetize that. You could have a LinkedIn article and you could have a podcast or guest podcast, right? So something where there's long form content like I'm doing right now, where I'm taking a concept that I could do on an Instagram reel or an Instagram carousel and now blow it out into a more in-depth conversation around it. This is absolutely critical and people get to know you more. You can nurture your existing audience with your long form content. And then the third reason is I think in this explosion of AI content, your social media content can be repurposed and reused and copied and, regurgitated through chatbots. But your video content, this is where people get to know you. They really see how you show up and what your belief system is and how you stand behind your values. Because you can say on Instagram in a carousel post, these are my 4 values. But when you get into a YouTube video, you can actually see how somebody potentially would act in that situation. Likewise, when you're in a podcast, especially if someone's interviewing you and they say, Brenda, what are your values and what do you stand for? I can give examples to it. So whether you have your own podcast or you go on guest podcasts, you have your own YouTube or you go on people's guest YouTubes. Substack, same thing. Long form content is great. It just allows people to pour into it and really know you and get to understand you. The third route, I think, to visibility, other than networking and relying on referrals to help you out with lead generation, is communities and collaboration, the 2 C's. You join communities. So in the day, it was all about Facebook communities. Now Facebook, they're not so great. There's lots of advertisement. Hosts can't even see all the people. And I know I have friends and colleagues that are huge advocates, but here's the thing. My community is on school. I'm a huge advocate for the school platform. There is over 1 billion communities on there and the number of users are endless and they are pouring tons of dollars. I know one of the gals that is now heading up their ads campaign. She's phenomenal. She's going to rock it. There's going to be even more people coming to school to either set up communities or to be a part of other people's communities. And as a community host, I love being on school because there's so many great communities for me to be a part of and engage in and build connections. And I know that people have come to the community, my community, through that and have joined up for my summits and my bundles because of my presence on those communities. So being a part of communities is really important. But here's the key. When you're in those communities, you need to engage in them. What does my schedule look like for engaging? I will take 20 minutes to read through content, 20 minutes to comment thoughtfully, not just great post, thank you, but actually 2 to 3 sentences at minimum of a heartfelt comment on every post. And then I will post content and then also, comment back on other people's engagement around that post in the comments. So I will spend 60 minutes doing that sort of content curation and commenting. So that's an hour. And that's the community element. From there, I will build relationships with people. I will see where there's like synergies and affinities and possibilities for collaborations. I will invite people to be in my summits, to go on podcasts with me, to jump on an Instagram live, to collaborate on something, because I think that's where the richness comes in, the collaboration. And let's face it, women, we're great at building community. So let's do this in our business. The advantages as far as lead generation is that, when you have a colleague that's saying, hey, come over here and meet my neighbors and meet my community, that neighborhood, that community is more inclined now to potentially work with you or collaborate with you on something. And your audience just grows and grows and grows from there. And it's fun. Let's have fun in our business. Okay, the fourth element that I use to gain more visibility so I'm not counting on referrals and networking, are ads. So I do ads on Meta specifically, so for Facebook and Instagram, and I create ads to drive traffic to my Evergreen workshop, to drive traffic to my school community, and to drive traffic towards my summits and bundles that I run for lead generation. And the reason why I do ads is, number one, I don't want to work 24/7 in my business. Even if there are opportunities for me to do short form content, long form content, engaging in different communities and collaborations, sometimes I don't want to do all three of those things. And I know that my ads are working in the background. I test ads every week with new creatives, new hooks, new ad angles, and I'm always curious about how they perform. I get to work with women from everywhere. While I was away in Europe for the summer, I got a chance to meet up with a couple community members, one out of Madrid, Spain, one out of London, England, and it was fabulous. It was fabulous to do face to face. So that's something that I'm thinking about incorporating more, which would be the networking element inside my lead generation process, is to do more face to face in real life meetups, connect in with other school and also online business owners. So let's just recap really quickly. I mentioned the four that I think are viable ways for you to increase your visibility without having to rely on networking and referrals. But don't stop the networking and referrals. If it's working for you, great. Now, out of the four that I just mentioned, choose two from one of those buckets and have those as backup options, right? And test them over the next 30, 60, 90 days and see what difference it makes in your business. And also, like I mentioned, it gives you a bit of a relief that you don't always have to rely on the in-person networking events, because at different points in your life, you might feel that drain. So the recap is short form content, choose one, do it well. Long form content, because it's great for you to be able to nurture and just get into the underbelly of how you do the work that you do and how you support the clients that you do, and the beliefs and values that you have, because people need to connect with real, authentic human beings, and just give them that opportunity to do that. The third element that I mentioned was community and collaborations, the two C's. And then four are ads. Now, whether you choose to do ads on Meta, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Google, as you want to continue to scale, if you have 1, 2, and 3 locked in, those three methods that I just talked about with you before, short form, long form, and a community collaboration mechanism that you can access, and those three things are in place, you're ready to start doing ads. I wouldn't necessarily do ads if these other things aren't happening, because ads can cost a lot of money. And at some point or another, you're going to freak out that you're spending too much money on ads and cut those off. And it's going to be kind of like the networking thing. Then you don't have a backup option. So start practicing the short form, the long form content, and the community collaborations, and get some of those going, and then do ads. Okay. Let me know what you think about this, because I want to just create ease in your business. When I hear that, hey, this is one stream that's working for me, but it's also kind of sucking the life out of me, we got to come up with some other alternatives. And there are alternatives. And it may mean that you need to put in some systems, some automation. And as you continue to scale those visibilities, you may need to also bring in some experts to help you out with it. But inside the Aligned AF community, all four of those different channels to help you do lead generation, we talk about in the community, and we have easy solutions on how to get them in play. I can't wait to see you, more of you this fall. Reach out to me with any questions that you have after listening to this episode, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.